Hey guys, how you doing? It's me, Victor, and I'm just finished Luke Cage season 2, and it was good. It was really good, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Uh, it's basically stars Mike Coulter, Simone Missick, I'm sorry, Rosie Dawson, and Theo Rossi. And introducing Gabriel Dennis and Mustafa Shakira. If I said his last name wrong, I apologize. It's the first time I'm actually seeing the spelling and trying to pronounce it right now. Basically, Luke Cage season 2 is a continuation after the Defenders and everything happened in his own season. Um, the characters are well more in depth. Luke, in my opinion, Luke is more how I would say, like in the first few episodes, Luke is more like the fly on the wall in a sense. Even though he's still doing his thing, helping out the people of Harlem and everything, he's more like the fly on the wall. Kind of like in the background where everyone else is more up front. Uh, Mariah is in the picture and Shades as well, but we are introduced to what's his name now? Hold on. Bushmaster. So Bushmaster, he's this Jamaican gangster dude who wants to take over Harlem, and also he has a vendetta against Mariah. So this is basically gonna be a little bit of spoilers here and there. And let me just tell you, Mustafa Shakira, if I'm saying his name right, If I'm sorry if I'm saying his last name. He did a good job as Bushmaster as well. I never read the comics, so I don't know a lot about these characters. Gabrielle Dennis, who plays Tilda, Mariah's daughter, she also was very well put together. She very innocent, but she came into her place towards the end of the film, and that's the thing about this show. Everybody had their own introduction, just like always. You see what they're doing, you see what they're saying, and what they're trying to prove, and the ending had a little bit more of a different turn, kind of like how Jessica Jones felt in a sense, where it had a little bit of a quiet ending, but still hectic, still more dirty, dangerous, of course, because Luke is dealing with all the bullshit and helping all the people. And they address real world issues in this season, as the first season as well as having a bunch of what do you call that? A bunch of oh my god, my mind went blank. A lot of Easter eggs, especially they had Deadpool. They had a Deadpool Easter egg, not Easter egg. I'm sorry, reference, and they had Game of Thrones references as well as Godfather. They had a whole bunch of references here and there, and they didn't shy away. They actually let us know. They kind of held our hands. I've held our hands if you've seen it in here and there. But the show was good. The show was really good. But I did kind of fall asleep on 2 episodes, and that was 4 and 5. It was basically when they were kind of getting into the meat and gravy of the show, of the season, and getting Luke invested even more in finding out who this Bushmaster is and how he's going to take him down in investigation. Part of it actually felt like Law and Order, where the other felt like a superhero film. And it had like a twist towards the end for Luke resolution. It didn't really feel like a resolution, but what they gave is what we're supposed to get. And they're basically setting up for season 3. Definitely, exactly how they set up. Rosario Dawson as Claire, she makes a return, and here's a spoiler alert right here. Luke and her are dating as always, with each other, and suddenly as Luke goes into um helping out the people of Harlem, he gets into fighting. Like, he gets into a fight with this guy nicknamed Cockroach, and he injures Cockroach so badly to the point that Claire starts questioning Luke's motives. Are you're a hero and all, but are you really going in with a very clear mind? Because the way you damaged the guy was not really, like, you lost a grip of yourself. He lost himself a bit in his anger fighting Cockroach. It's kind of a weird name, and it's kind of weird even pronouncing that. Call him a dude Cockroach, my nickname anyway. It had a little bit of twists and turns as well. Some funny moments. Some other times where Luke should have been actually helping the people, he was more sitting down and chilling out and talking, and an ally of his or someone he knows or someone that we have seen in the last season or a few episodes ago or come and visit him and give him some information on something and ask him what he's gonna do about it, and he'll go check it out, of course. Most of the times he's talking and chilling out, sitting and this and that. I understand that you have to have those breathing moments, but the segments felt too stretched up, like too stretchy for a show that's supposed to be more in depth time to time. What I'm trying to say is this. What I'm trying to say is that the moments that you're supposed to give us action, you're giving us a guy sitting down and chilling out and talking. But the times where he should be talking and investigating, he's making jokes or making references to another television show or so. And it just felt a little bit all over the place time to time. And those are the things that kind of annoyed me to a point where it really annoyed me. And I wish that they actually went a little bit further with certain characters' story arcs, like Bushmaster. We understood Bushmaster seriously. Now, this is a huge spoiler right here. Bushmaster's family was wronged by Mariah's family. So it's basically, for him, it's a revenge tale. It's a revenge story where he's going after Mariah and her empire, taking her down, but setting her up first to make her feel comfortable as like, oh, we're allies. So he basically appears as an ally, and then when he sets her all up, he takes her down. And don't just take her down, he takes her whole empire, her money, everything. Gabrielle Dennis, who plays Tilda, she as Mariah's daughter, she was a doctor, very brilliant, diligent, and she's very innocent through all of this. But she does gain a lot of blood on her hands towards the end of this season, which really fills out really well. Basically, due to between her and her mother, the issues that how Mariah is, and that anybody seen season 1 of Luke Cage, you know Mariah. She's Cottonmouth's cousin, if I remember correctly, and she became a gangster right after she killed Cottonmouth, and she takes over the whole keys to the castle, etc., etc. Now, because of her ways and her beef, Mariah started having beefs with the Jamaicans in the show. Her daughter Tilda sees this as, you know, probably should back off because starting a war with another faction is not really a good idea. But of course, Mariah, she's not going to take anything laying down. She's going to actually go out there and take out anyone who takes her out, especially when someone threatens her family, which Tilda was in certain events or a lot of events, depending on how you look at it. But for me, I enjoyed it very much. It just had some parts that was very annoying to a lot of parts where they should have actually had doing. Sorry for the phone thing. I'm doing crown this. Where they should have had Luke doing certain things, like investigating and stuff. They had him just sitting around talking, chilling until someone he knows comes running up to him and say, like, "What are you gonna do? I learned about this, that, and that. You should go over there. Now, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna? Okay, I'm gonna check it out." But then more talking happens and more talking happens, and then you have a little bit here and there. I just wish they actually they stopped with that and just concentrated more on the investigation. And trust me, when they actually start with the investigations, it feels more intuitive, it feels more strong, it feels more decent whenever Luke is actually on the field doing something. Trust me, that's basically why I wanted to see this season, and I got to see this season. I wanted to see Luke doing stuff. But you can't really enjoy something if somebody just constantly sits around. And I'm sorry repeating myself over and over and over. So I have to say, season 2, you have basically here, as Luke, he becomes like a hero, a celebrity in Harlem after clearing his name. He basically faced a new threat. So because what he can do, he's bulletproof, and that's the inspiration to a lot of the kids and a lot of the black youth in the neighborhood. He became a celebrity after taking down Diamondback and everything like that. And a lot of what happened in last season doesn't really impact this season at all, in a sense. You hear Diamondback, you hear references to Cottonmouth and everything, but it's not impactful to the story, in my opinion. You don't feel the weight and loss of these older characters that came before. I will give it up to Mariah, though, the actress who played Mariah. She did a wonderful job, period. She was very strong and motivated to what she wanted to do. In my opinion, the villains had better scenes than Luke. On other major on the left hand side, but on the right hand side here you had more story to learn about Luke and especially with his relationship with his father, which they do introduce his father in this series, which is really cool, and I really enjoy it. And they actually show Luke's mother in a flashback a few times, which is really interesting as well, and we get to learn how she passed. If they actually did address how she passed away, I don't remember. I'm just learning about this now, and plus I don't know if they actually had this in the comic. I never read the comic at all. I know about Luke Cage. I've seen him in some cartoons and stuff like that, and some of the video games that they have for the console and the PC. But that's as far as my knowledge goes with the guy, is that he's very strong and his skin is impenetrable. And that still plays a huge major role, of course, in this. They always mention him. They have this guy, DW. Now, anytime Luke says DW, it makes me think of Arthur. That used to come on Channel 13. I used to watch this show constantly. This cartoon show called Arthur. Now DW, he's a huge fan, and he sells T-shirts. He sells he captures. He also has he's connected to this app, I believe he made himself, or someone a fan of Luke made. And anytime Luke is seen on the street, DW is like his phone is pinged. Yeah, ping sound, and he goes right to where Luke is, and he starts recording the footage the best way he can. Now, the reason why, the way Luke was, oh my god, when it was coming to that point where Luke and Bushmaster meets Bushmaster for the first time, DW is recording everything. So after he records Luke getting his butt handed to him, spoiler alert, he actually makes footage, and he puts on, copies it on disc, and he posts it online, and is like, everybody's like worried about, like, oh my god, is our Harlem Power Man gonna be taken down by this new guy? Like, who is this new guy? And etc. etc. Talking about villains, and talking about other things, and talking about how some what's her name, Luke's landlord from the season 1, she makes an appearance as well, and business seems to be booming for her. Another thing, Danny Rand is Iron Fist. He also makes an appearance, and Colleen as well, which is awesome. And they actually have a scene where they actually team up. But watching the fight scene with Danny and Luke looks very choreographed. Kind of like how they had the first fight scene in Iron Fist. I hope that paints a good picture for you guys. The first fight in the first episode of Iron Fist, where it looked very choreographed, and like, oh god, sorry for that. It looks very choreographed and everything like that. The kicks, the punches, you can actually see where the punch is gonna land on the person's face. To when Danny's gonna flip over the guy, it is very predictable. Well, that's how the fight scene in the later episodes, when Luke and Danny teamed up to fight these bunch of guys in the drug den. But other than that, I'm really glad I got to experience this. I'm really glad that I actually really, oh my god, I apologize. I'm stuttering, and so I don't really write everything down. I just say what I remember. That's what I'm trying. It's kind of coming off jumble. My words are coming out jumbled, and I apologize for this. But I'm really glad I got to experience this and seen everything. The Deadpool, my favorite Deadpool reference they made was the chimichanga reference, and everything like that. They also had they actually did nod as the Defenders did exist in Luke Cage. Now, if you guys recall, in Jessica Jones, they never really mentioned the Defenders that much. Like, it happened, and it existed. It felt like they just swept it underneath the carpet and they left it there. Well, in Luke Cage, they definitely make a nod. They do nod that it did exist. They do mention references to that, especially towards when Danny comes in. They make more references to it as well. They actually have a scene towards the last episode that plays out like The Godfather. When Michael Coulter, who plays Luke, he's talking to Suge, and he sits down on the desk and he says, anything you want to tell me, blah blah blah, and Misty's there. Now, as she leaves, she turns around, kind of how Michael Corleone's wife turned around and looked from the outside entrance, looking in. And the door just slowly closes in her face. But the way the camera was cut, looking at her perspective and the perspective of Luke in power now towards the end, and I'm going to get to that in a second, it felt legitimately like The Godfather. Now, here's a major spoiler right here. Luke as Bushmaster falls out of power and Mariah falls out of power, she gets arrested. Eventually, all the evidence pile up. They find enough evidence via Misty Knight. She finds enough evidence that puts away Mariah for life. She's not gonna get out for a very long time. No one is left to rule Harlem except for this woman named Rosia. Rosia, she runs one of the mobs in Harlem, and she's fitting to take over. Well, of course, Luke steps in, and they make a deal, a negotiation where everything remain peace as long as they don't interfere with no one or blah blah blah. All of her people should back away, etc., etc. Luke becomes, and this is why I don't like it, Luke becomes what he was fighting against all the time. And it proves that saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Or the only way you can defeat someone is if you speak their own motto. And that's what plays out right here. That's what plays out at the end in the 13th episode. And yes, I'm going to have to change the title because I didn't actually put spoilers, but I decided to talk about the spoilers because it benefits what I'm trying to say, and my words are not coming out perfectly here and there. Because I'm trying to hold back, but at the same time messing up. So I'm just gonna say it like this: the show, watch it. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 just because it dragged on a little bit too much, and they should have had Luke in more of action, doing more things in action than just sitting around talking time to time. But I will recommend it to anyone. I love this series and everything. I hope they keep continuing more. And one last thing, Danny Rand, Danny in Luke Cage, he actually was more better in here than he was in his own season and the Defenders. But that's all I have to say. But thank you guys for listening. If you guys got this far, thank you for listening to my suffering discussion / review. I know I'm not good at speaking, and I'm not good at actually doing reviews, but I try my best to actually explain what I'm trying to say. If you guys made it this far, thank you. All right, see you guys there. Peace.